Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me and welcome to a special review for the brand new Black Crowes box set for their third studio album, Amorica, that originally came out in 1994. So celebrating its 30th anniversary, it's now been expanded into a 3 CD box set, just coming out on November 14th, 2025. I'll do a full review unboxing of this thing, give you some behind the scenes info on this thing because unfortunately the info inside this is a little light and doesn't really get into all that is really here. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to let you know what it all is and why this is important. We'll do that in just a bit, but before we start, if you're new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do. Also leave a comment, hit like. All those things do help support my channel. I greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, if you turn on notifications, you'll never miss an episode and stay up to date on cool things like this, where we're talking about the brand new Amorica box set. So the album Amorica, which was released in 1994, was released 10 years on from when the band originally formed in 1984. Third studio album at the time, and it was spawned from the unreleased Tall album sessions that began in 1992, 93, somewhere around that time frame, and ultimately would get released, or at least in part, on the Lost Crowes 2006 double album that had another unreleased album, Band, which didn't come out because the group decided to release By Your Side. So two great lost albums there as part of Lost Crowes. If you're not familiar with that, I highly recommend it. But the remainder of tracks that didn't get released on Lost Crowes now appear on this box set as a bonus disc called Tallest. So that's a lot of fun to be able to get those as part of it. I'm going to get into more of that here in just a bit. And the album cover of this is kind of another notable thing that really kicked up a lot of controversy at the time. This cover is actually of an anonymous woman, and it was the first used as the 1976 magazine cover for the magazine Hustler, which was a men's magazine that often did much more graphic photography in it than other magazines like Playboy, Penthouse, stuff like that. And so stores like Walmart, Kmart wouldn't cover this until they did a censored album cover that actually went in and only left the material, the fabric of the bikini as the leftover, and got rid of everything else on here. But the album cover itself being such a dominant thing, and it was actually very fitting for the mood and everything that the band was going for, or the vibe, I should really say. And again, we're going to talk more about that later. So the album art wasn't just something meant to be eye-catching. It was actually something that had real reason behind it. And another thing of note regarding the album is that at that time, it got a release 2 weeks early on LP, and I've still got my original LP of this. So this came out on LP 2 weeks before you could buy the CD or cassette, and the CD being the dominant format at the time. It was a lot of fun to be able to get an album 2 weeks early, even though you were getting it on LP. Made me go out and buy a record player just so that I could end up playing this. Pearl Jam had done the same thing with Vitology. So several bands were doing throwback sort of things to vinyl and getting that stuff out there. And just for a quick comparison while we're talking about the two, the coloration of the box set is a bit brighter, more golden, if you will, than the original, but I prefer the original LP art than what they've done with it here. Not sure why they've changed up the coloration of it at all, but I have noticed in a number of newer releases what they've been doing to the album art. So it must be something where today they feel like this more brighter, golder, yellower toned colors is where thing is at, different from where it originally was. And so that was a lot of fun getting that on LP, having that bigger album art and getting to experience it before everyone else. And ultimately, when the album did come out, it featured several of the band's soon-to-be classic songs like A Conspiracy and then Wiser Time, which was one of the singles, maybe even was the last single released from the album, ended up doing really well for the band. They also released other singles like High Head Blues and Cursed Diamond, and ultimately the album itself would be certified gold for 500,000 copies sold in the US alone. All right, but we're here to talk about the box set. So the box set, it's reproduced in essentially LP style art. There's not a lot going on with this thing. It does have 3 CDs in it, all the info being on the back side here where it breaks it down into those 3 discs. 34 tracks, so it's not a lot of tracks on here. CD1 has the album itself, and then they add in 3 bonus tracks on it. Chevrolet, cover song, Song of the Flesh, and Sunday Night Buttermilk Waltz. Now, both of those were included on the original remaster edition of the album. They were the bonus tracks on here. So on this box set, they're now doing it as 2025 mixes of it. So you are getting a new mix of those. Those also turned up on Lost Crows. So those have been released, which I understand is why they're leaving them on the first disc in here and not making it part of the second disc, which they're calling Tallest. So CD2 in here being called Tallest, this part that's right here features 9 unreleased songs from the Tall sessions. And these are the songs that didn't make their way out as part of Lost Crows. So if you own this here, these songs are not duplicating over to it. They released what would have been that album, which of course featured a lot of the songs from Amorica with some other unreleased songs thrown in on it. But all in all, it was not the complete unreleased recordings, as they did a lot of different recording sessions for what would ultimately become Amorica before they scrapped the album Tall. And of those tracks, they released the single Bitter Bitter You off of here, which is a great rockin' song, a fantastic song that easily could have appeared off of Amorica. If you haven't heard that one, check that one out. Track number 2 off of Tallest, the song Tied Up and Swallowed, is another great rockin' tune. Though this album, Tallest, is a bit more mellow than I would like it to be, but it's kind of where the Crows were with Amorica, much more groove-oriented style album than they had been doing on their 2 previous albums, though they were moving more and more in this direction the whole time. So the album itself, the 9 tracks that are here, make up for a great alternate listening experience to Amorica, and this in and of itself I think makes the whole package worthwhile. But very nice to get that and to have that on here. CD3, which they title as the Marie Laveau Sessions, is not entirely just that. The Marie Laveau Sessions had 7 songs that were recorded at Kingsway Studios in New Orleans, and those first 7 songs that are on here are that. But then they tack on 4 live recorded songs that were recorded in 1994, and the Marie Laveau Sessions was 1992. So it is nice that we get stuff spanning 92, 93, and 94. It really creates a holistic picture of the Amorica album itself with the content that they use on here. But this is something I've been noticing on box sets recently, where they will title a disc like this, yet that is not the only content on it. And I kind of wish they would either, if they're going to call it that, only release it as the content that it is and not tack on other stuff. So what's interesting though with those 4, or with the Marie Laveau Sessions, I should say, is that you not only get an acoustic version of Nonfiction, but you get an early version of the song Girl from a Pawn Shop, which would later turn up on their next album in 1996, 3 Snakes and One Charm. So you're getting to hear something that was thought about and written for this album, Amorica, but was good enough to revisit later on to put onto the next album itself. And I think Girl from a Pawn Shop is one of the standout tunes off of the next album. And so it's kind of cool to see it turn up here and get that alternate version. Now, the rest of this stuff, there is a book, a poster, and a sticker, of which I'm going to pull this out in just a moment and show you all of that sort of stuff. But what's in it leaves a lot to be desired. So let's go ahead and take a peek, and then when I can get that out, I'll show you. So first and foremost, this doesn't do any kind of great gatefold or triple fold or anything. It literally just opens up like that. And we can see that there's some red on red writing here, and we get the 3 CDs. They're not in individual sleeves. They do slide out fairly easily, which is cool. And then you can see that there's this opening here, and down inside it, the poster, book, and sticker. But that's the extent of this box set. So a little surprising, though this is very typical to the first 2 box sets that they've done for Shake Your Moneymaker and Southern Harmony and Musical Companion. So I'm not shocked on that regard. I am just still shocked that they're doing such basic production for these things when I think they could be so much more. So if we go in here now and I pull out, in this case, the book that's inside here, and we'll pull out the poster that's in here. I think the sticker's inside my book, which it is. So we have all the content out of this thing. I'll open up the poster first. It's a very nice poster. This silver, I don't know, colored, reflective poster. Very, very cool. Not just your typical. It's on very nice thick paper. And so that's interesting in and of itself. As I mentioned, there is a sticker that's included within it, which I didn't even know until I got ready to do this for you guys. I kept having my poster get bound up on something as I was putting it in, and found out that it was actually getting caught up on the sticker, though. I looked inside there numerous times and thought that all that was in there was this. So it's such a big area to put things in, and yet these things are so small, it just gets lost in it. So you get this cool little book that's in there, but it's basically just an interview. So you open it up and it gives you a little bit of a sort of statement, and it's just plain paper. It's not on any kind of thick stuff. And there's a full interview with Chris and Rich Robinson. They even go as far as to call it an hour-long interview. It doesn't take you an hour to read this thing, so I don't know really why they're saying it's an hour that's in here. And you get some cool photos and stuff in it, but there's really not a lot in here, and that's it. So what I'm kind of bummed about is that there's no individual info on the album Tallest. They talk about it in the different recording sessions, but they don't really get into talking about that. There's no information about the Marie Lavo sessions in it. There's no specific information about the 4 live recordings that are in here. So it's just this interview that kind of touches on things, but the same way that normally there would be, information about what was recorded in what studio and what time frame, 92, 93, 94, whether it was part of the Tallest sessions or it was later recorded as part of Amorica. None of that is in here. And so it's great to get this interview, but it just doesn't tell me enough about the album. Most of this info that I'm telling you about as part of this album was stuff I had to look up, read through Wikipedia, Google, look up other things to get the full amount of information to be able to tell you what it was, as opposed to actually getting any of it from the box set. So that aspect of it, I'm a bit bummed with. Now let's go ahead and talk bottom line on this box set now. The material on here is absolutely worthwhile. Those bonus songs, the different tracks that come from those sessions and things like that. It's all very good, but at a $100 price tag on this, makes it a little hard to accept $100 for only 3 CDs. Getting the remainder of the Tallest sessions, I think, is great, but at the same time, I really kind of question why We don't get the content that is from Lost Crows included as well to tell that more holistic picture. I get it, I already own it here, but I think it would have been cool to have gotten an alternate edition of the album, meaning just the album tracks, and then you got all the unreleased songs that didn't make the album and keep those as two separate discs in here. Could have been a lot of fun. Equally, there's no DVD or Blu-ray in here, and the album art that creates the backside image of this here, which was called the Mushroom Party. They had to make a press release. They called the EPK, I think, or the EKP, I don't remember. The press release packages for these things. And they decided to shoot a video instead of just the in the studio recording of that kind of stuff. They threw a party. You had to wear a costume. You had to be taking psychedelics and all that. And that's where this photo comes from here, but it's also what inspired this front cover, something outside of the norm, something that was counterculture, which was also what they were doing. They were outside the norm. They were not part of the grunge movement, all of that sort of thing like that. So there's this video called The Mushroom Party. There's also music videos from the album. I'm sure there's live content that they could have had, that they could have included a Blu-ray or DVD. And I feel like we should have gotten a 5-disc box set here, even if some of the material replicated things that I already have. It's always nice to get it grouped together. And we're not really getting that here. We're kind of getting a very limited amount of material, yet they're charging the price of a 5-disc box set. $100 should really give us a lot more content than just 34 songs. That is the total of this. And remember, a large amount of that is the album Amorica, which we already have, though the remastering on it is new, and it is nice to get that, and it is great quality. But I have to say, all in all, again, it really comes down to the content. For me, those 9 songs making up Tallest, those unreleased 9 tracks, it's totally worthwhile. The Marie Laveau sessions, which is 7 more unreleased songs, again, totally make it worthwhile. The lead track off of that, Exit, which was the 2nd single release from the box set, totally worthwhile. It's amazing the quality of material that the Black Crowes had kicking around in their vault. Hopefully we're going to see more stuff like this going down the road, but all in all, I do feel that it is worthwhile for Black Crowes fans to pick this up and would highly recommend this box set. And there you go. That is my review for the Black Crowes Amorica Deluxe Edition box set review. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you chose to pick this up, you've given it a listen. Let me know your thoughts on it, the content, the way that it was put together. Do you like the album Tallest? How do you feel that stands up next to Amorica? Those are all things that, were on my mind when I was getting this and digging into it and going through it. So I've had a lot of fun digging into this box set and digesting it and all of that. I hope you guys have as well, and I hope you enjoyed this review on it. All right, everyone, take care, have a good one, and I'll talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.